The Young and the Restless, Spoilers. Sharon had been unraveling for weeks, her once composed demeanor now replaced by erratic behavior that no one could ignore. She was often seen talking to herself, lost in heated arguments with an invisible foe, her voice escalating into screams in crowded places. People stared, horrified and confused, as Sharon seemed to lose her grip on reality. The name that slipped from her lips repeatedly was Cameron, a man from her past, a haunting presence that only existed in her mind now. To everyone else, Sharon was a woman battling demons no one else could see, but to her, she was locked in an endless war with Cameron. On this particular day, in the middle of crimson lights, the town's coffee shop bustling with activity, Sharon's outburst was more intense than ever. Her eyes were wild, and her voice cut through the chatter. "Shut up, Cameron. You have to keep quiet. Heather's death happened, and we must keep it a secret. I am not going to prison for this." The room fell silent. Customers, baristas, even the usual town gossipers froze, unsure of how to react. The air was thick with tension. But amidst the stunned crowd, there was one person who was not just shocked, but sharply attentive. Diane Jenkins. Diane, who had been quietly sipping her coffee in the corner, felt her heart race. Her eyes narrowed as she studied Sharon, piecing together the cryptic outburst. Did she just hear what she thought she heard? Heather's death, the whispers about keeping a secret, and the looming threat of prison. It all pointed to one thing. Sharon was involved. Diane's mind raced, replaying the scene in her head. Was it possible that Sharon was responsible for Heather's death? Heather Stevens had been found dead under mysterious circumstances, and while suspicions lingered, no concrete evidence had yet surfaced. But Sharon's confession, as unintentional as it seemed, painted a chilling picture. Diane wasn't impulsive. She knew better than to run straight to the police with hearsay. If Sharon was indeed the killer, Diane needed more than just a public meltdown to prove it. The woman was clearly unstable, her mental health deteriorating in front of the entire town. If Diane wanted her suspicions to be taken seriously, she needed real evidence. She resolved to keep a close eye on Sharon, knowing the unraveling woman would eventually slip up again. Sharon was losing control, spiraling deeper into her delusions, and Diane was convinced that this wasn't the first or the last time she would say something incriminating. So Diane began her quiet surveillance, discreetly following Sharon whenever possible. She pretended to bump into her by chance at the grocery store, lingered at the park when Sharon took long, aimless walks, and even positioned herself at crimson lights more often than usual, just in case Sharon had another. In the days that followed, Sharon's behavior became more erratic. Her mental state was clearly declining. She barely slept, her eyes sunken and bloodshot, her thoughts scattered. She began to believe that Cameron was everywhere, watching her, whispering in her ear, controlling her every move. At times she was paralyzed with fear, while at others she screamed at the invisible tormentor, threatening him with retaliation for crimes that only existed in her fractured mind. Her paranoia grew, and her isolation deepened as friends and family pulled away, unsure of how to help, or if they even could. But Diane stayed close, playing the role of the concerned onlooker, never revealing her true intentions. She needed more proof, something concrete that would implicate Sharon in Heather's death. And she knew, with Sharon's fragile state, it was only a matter of time before the truth surfaced. One afternoon, Diane's patience paid off. She saw Sharon wandering near the Newman Ranch, mumbling incoherently, her hands shaking as she clutched her phone. Diane stayed a safe distance behind, watching as Sharon stopped at the edge of the property, turning her head left and right as if she were listening to someone, though no one was there. Then, suddenly, Sharon shouted, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Heather wasn't supposed to die. I didn't mean to hurt her." Diane's pulse quickened. She pulled out her phone and started recording, capturing every word. Sharon's confession, though disjointed and chaotic, was damning. Diane couldn't believe what she was hearing. Sharon was practically admitting to the crime, but there was still the matter of context. Sharon was unwell, possibly delusional, and any lawyer worth their salt would claim her mental state disqualified her confession. Diane faced a dilemma. She had enough to go to the police with this recording, but would it be enough for an arrest? Sharon's unstable mental state might make it easy for her to plead insanity, and there was still the risk that this wasn't a full confession, just a part of Sharon's delusion. Diane could play this card now, or she could wait, gather more evidence, and ensure Sharon had no way out. After much deliberation, Diane decided to bide her time. She would keep this recording as leverage, but she knew Sharon was unraveling fast, and another incriminating moment was sure to come. She didn't want to jump too soon and give Sharon the chance to escape punishment. If Diane could catch her in a more lucid moment, with an admission that couldn't be so easily explained away by mental illness, then Sharon would have no defense. Days turned into weeks, and Sharon's condition worsened. Her paranoia led her to isolate even more, her grasp on reality slipping further each day. Diane, always lurking in the background, was waiting for the moment when Sharon would crack completely. The guilt over Heather's death was eating Sharon alive, and